Hey Lake Point, Pastor Michael here to get you caught up on the first week of our new series, The Vow. Let's be honest, marriage is tough, and so this series is meant to be an investment in your marriage or perhaps your future marriage. This week, Pastor Roy led us through the vow of priority, aka keeping the proper priorities in our relationships. I imagine that when you stood at the altar and made a commitment in front of your family and friends, there were many things going through your head, dreams and different expectations, and you weren't thinking about divorce. But today you look around and it's hard not to notice that marriages are not where they should be in our society. No matter what study you look at or article you read, roughly 50% of marriages aren't surviving. 50%, which is a horrifying number. A 50% success rate in other areas of your life would cause alarm. If you knew that there was something you cared about and that if you didn't do anything to secure it, there's a 50% chance you could lose it, you would do something immediately. If you sat down at the bank to open up a new account and just as you're about to sign the paperwork, you notice the small print says that please be advised, there's a 50% chance that your money will be lost. You wouldn't switch to that bank, or you'd probably consider putting your money underneath your mattress. As Pastor Roy shared, the reason he believes we are losing so many marriages is because we are not preparing for them spiritually. We aren't putting enough emphasis on whether they honor God or not. Can you have a great God-honoring marriage? The answer is yes, but it's not likely. It doesn't happen just by accident. You don't just get there on your own. You actually need guidance. There's a belief out there that many of us have that we just need to find that Mr. or Mrs. Right, or the one. It's the idea that if you want to be truly happy in life, you need to find the person, the one, that person that when they walk in the room, everything just goes in slow motion and the music plays that only you can hear, and life just looks different when you're around them. Perhaps though, instead of spending your times in your days searching for the one, what if instead you started being on the lookout for the two? Why would you be on the lookout for the two? It's because God should be your one. Your spouse is your two. God is your one and your spouse is your two. For those who aren't married and hope to be married someday, your vow should be that I will seek the one while preparing for my two. Pastor Andy Stanley puts it this way: becoming the person you're looking for is looking for. Become the person you're looking for is looking for. In other words, if I focus on the fact that God is my one and I allow God to mold me and transform me and shape me, then when my two comes along, someone with similar values and who has made God their one, we will be ready to start something special. Now, I get it. It feels strange to look your partner in the eyes and whisper, "You're not my top priority." But this concept actually comes from us from Genesis chapter 2. It reads that this is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. The man leaves his parents and becomes one flesh with his wife. However, God is still your one. Your spouse just becomes your primary human relationship after God. The reason the divorce rate is so high is because we often get these priorities wrong. We forget who should be the one and who should be the two. We make our spouse the one and then become disillusioned and disappointed when our spouse doesn't play the role in our life that Jesus should be playing. Your spouse is a gift, an incredible partner, comfort, and support, but your joy, your peace, your purpose comes from the one who made you. To put that on your spouse by elevating them to the place of number one, it creates unrealistic expectations. So it's no wonder that we see so many of our marriages break down. So you need to know your priorities. And what's more, you actually need to protect those priorities. If you're married today and you found your marriage to be in a season of struggle, it's almost guaranteed that you can trace your issue to a misalignment of priorities. You're not putting God first. You're not seeking Him first. And so, do you want your marriage to grow? Well, one of the things you can do is actually pray together. The Barna Group did a study and found that approximately only 8% of Christian couples pray together every single day. However, according to that same research, the divorce rate amongst those 8% of couples who pray together every day is only 1 in 10,000. There's perhaps nothing more effective at tearing down barriers in a marriage than a couple that takes time in their day to make sure that God is one and their spouse is two by praying together. It's divorce-proofing your marriage in a lot of ways. Another practical tip Roy shared for safeguarding your marriage is to not allow your marriage to become child-centered. Yes, if you have kids, you'll always be a parent, but your main assignment as a parent lasts 18 or 19 years and is temporary. Kids are a temporary assignment. Your marriage, though, is a lifelong commitment. That doesn't mean you neglect your kids. It doesn't mean you don't feed them or bathe them, but that you prioritize your marriage over your kids. If you want your kids to know what a God-honoring marriage looks like, if you want a God-honoring marriage for your kids, model it for them. Show them what it looks like by making your spouse number 2 and God number 1. We need to protect our number 1 and our number 2 priorities. And for the men watching this, have you ever said the statement, I would die for my wife, or I would jump in front of a bullet for my wife? I mean, those are great statements. They sound really brave, but perhaps there's a tougher question you need to answer, and is, would you live for her? You know, I would die for her, but you won't go to counseling. I mean, how does that make sense? I would die for her, but she has asked you to go for a walk with her and you're always just a little too tired. I would give my life for her, but she wants to pray with you and you find that just a little too awkward to do out loud. It's one thing to be willing to die for someone, it's a whole other thing to be willing to live for them. Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, for husbands, this means you love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He gave up his life for her. Not like hypothetically, he actually did it. This means you will protect this priority. God becomes the one in your marriage, and because he does, you will love your two. You will serve them and honor them by how you live your life. Just as Christ loved the church, we keep God first. Well, friends, consider yourselves caught up. Enjoy discussing the questions in your small group. I'll see you next time.